What's up, Jeff, man?
How's it
Good,
going?
good. Good to hear from you guys, man. What's happening?
Yeah, thanks for hopping in with us. I've been a huge fan of you for quite some time, since all the way back in the early Rare Pepe days. I think is when I first found out about you, and so it's awesome that 5+ years later we were able to do something exciting together. I know our community's stoked about it. Um, and yeah, I just wanted to have the opportunity to hop on, do a little fireside chat. Um, so how's it going, first of all? How's your day going?
Oh, it's good, and yeah, thanks for having me on here. By the way, it means a lot, man. Yeah, no, it's good. It's almost just like kind of just working away on this PFP thing now. It's kind of funny just entering the foray of that side of the culture, which is kind of interesting. Especially not doing it like the correct way at all. Well, intentionally, but yeah, just shipping these things out. I'm just glad everybody's really digging them, and just kind of having a blast with it. But yeah, that's pretty much it, man. Just that, and just hopping on some various like web calls and stuff, and I just hopped off one like about an hour ago. But yeah, just running along, man. Like everybody else here is, keep busy.
Dope.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll get into the collection, but first, I know from my personal experience the impact you've had on crypto art for so many years now. And I think it would be interesting for our audience to hear a little bit about your background as a creative, as an artist, maybe before crypto art even, how you got into crypto art, what your kind of angle is.
Yeah, yeah. I got into crypto around like 2014. So, that's like the like penultimate like year of the altcoin. So I got into that time frame, and mostly it was just like financial. It was just like trying to understand what the hell Bitcoin was to begin with, and then all of a sudden like Dogecoin exists, and Namecoin exists, and Litecoin, and all these other coins that don't exist anymore, or they're dead now finally. But yeah, just for about 2 years, just really kind of just investigating the whole space and just seeing what all the experiments are. We're going with the blockchain itself. Got to see Ethereum sprout out. Got to see that get birthed and see the pre-sale, all that stuff was going on. And but before all that, I'm a musician as well. So I was basically doing crypto on the side, and I had my band like rehearsal space lockout, and during that time I was doing music, and also I was doing artwork on the side, during like band practices, like during breaks I'd be working on canvas work, so just kind of spread myself around. But it was kind of funny because during that time, like I was making a lot of artwork, and like we were throwing parties and stuff, and like people would come to the studio, and like they'd see all these canvases, and they'd like just go over to them and pick one up, and they'd start looking at it, and I'd be like, hey, you like that one? And they'd look at me, they're like, yeah, I like this one. I'm like, have it, just get it out of here, and they were generally stoked about it. So that was kind of like my first like introduction to like people actually like wanting my artwork, and then like a funny story is like I had like three art pieces stolen because I used to hang them up in the studio. Like this building was like at night it looked like a nightmare, but it was like all graffitied artwork. It's a place in like my hometown of Torrance, and basically I just would put up all my extra like canvases up there, and just to kind of decorate the studio, and yeah, I got back one day, and all of a sudden like three of them were gone. Like my buddy's like, he's like, man, your pieces got stolen. I'm like, that's good, that means it's worth something. If someone's willing to take the risk to like steal my work, like if obviously I might be onto something, so that's cool. I took that as an honor more than anything. So those were like my beginnings. I'm all self-taught. I didn't go to no college to get any like piece of paper to say that I'm an artist or anything. And some people need to do that, this is totally fine. Um, I'm just stubborn. I can't. I always have to like teach myself stuff. So usually, like self-taught guitar player, self-taught audio engineer, self-taught visual artist. So basically, it's just kind of the trajectory I go. And so yeah, and during all that time I was learning crypto. So you can imagine me like putting my guitar down and like putting opening my laptop up and like investigating, the counterparty network, and trying to figure out what that was. And then I realized, counterparty, you can make these tokens, you can make assets. And then finally, like, I came across like Spells of Genesis, which is like one of the first games ever made on the blockchain. And I started beta testing for them, and that was my first introduction to, attributing images to the tokens. That was like my first like aha moment. And so basically that, I was going through that. And then after a while, you start seeing all these assets pop up on Counterparty, and then all of a sudden I saw the rare Pepe asset, and that's when I fell into that rabbit hole. And then finally found the rare Pepe Telegram. There was only like, shoot, back then I forget how many of us were in the beginning when we decided to make a collection. I think we all kind of just decided we just had to do it. And I think there was like 20 or 30 of us or something like that. And then we did the first series, and then more artists started coming in the Telegram. Then, series 2, series 3. I kind of drifted off a little bit, and more artists came in, and we got the artwork count to about, what, 17, or yeah, 1,774 pieces made within that time frame. And then Joe Looney, the head of Rare Pepe, closed it down, which I thought was a great idea, just to rarefy it. And so that happened, and then the Bitcoin bear market happened, and everything got quiet. All the ICOs died. Everybody burrowed into their little cubby holes and started working again. And then I was just living my life, for the couple years after that. And then I basically kind of came back to the space and like just reinvestigated what was going on with the crypto art scene. And then I found out that, a couple galleries were starting to sprout out on Ethereum. And back then, like, jumping from Bitcoin to like Ethereum was like a huge jump. It's like, oh man, I'm not going to go on Ethereum to make, crypto art. I was having that mentality. But then I checked out, like rareart.io and Known Origin and Super Rare. And I'm like, you know what? This is the next wave. And so I started getting onto those platforms and starting to just make more personal work. And that's basically kind of how I got into like crypto art, like the crypto art era, so.
Phenomenal. And that brought us here today. I have some questions on some of the more prolific moments in ROBNESS crypto art history. But before I ask those, let's talk about this collection we've got pinned, Desktop Statue Systems Limited. Could you tell us about what's the inspiration behind it, the inception, your artistic vision for it?
Yeah, the inspiration. I mean, a lot of people know, like, when I first got into like the crypto art space, like, I literally got out of my like freakish vaporwave. Um, I was like locked in the vaporwave music style for about 2 years. I made a couple like albums on the side that I never really like admitted I made. And like made tons of art in that style. I was just excited. That was like, it was kind of weird because it was like that music style like almost gave me hope. Like, I was almost over music. I was just like so tired of it. I was like the worst critic of my own work and stuff. I'm like, just almost wanted to quit. And then I came across this stuff. I'm like, oh man, this is like a convergence of like art and music combined. Like, the artwork was just as important as the music was. And so I was literally just getting out of that, and then like literally barrel rolling into Super Rare and Known Origin. And so this collection is kind of like going back to that, but merging like the ongoing like advances with like artificial intelligence and like the generative like adversarial networks, and that stuff, and then kind of converging the two. And it was almost kind of just by happenstance, because like how I got into this is there's a research lab called Midjourney, and and technically it's like a collaboration of sorts, because I started beta testing their bots on their Discord. And basically, for about a couple weeks, I was just testing. With this stuff, it's called VQ Gons, and basically what it is you can type a prompt, just any type of words you can think of, and then the artificial intelligence will draw what what it perceives that sentence to be. So for about a good couple weeks, I'm just messing with this thing and coming up with all these crazy images, and there's other people in that room too, just making up a bunch of different stuff, and I'd be vibing off of what they were typing, and so it's just kind of like a petri dish. And So I started messing with it and then found a good couple prompts that were starting to generate these statue busts that I liked. But from my previous experience, because I've made like artificial intelligence artwork before. Like my old super rare portfolio has like a lot of the older stuff, like the older Gons work and stuff. But I know from like experience, like the artificial intelligence will start to drift off. Like even though you might get a couple images that are come to your liking, you do kind of have to like it's kind of weird. You kind of have to mold it. You kind of have to find the right phrase that'll give you consistency. And so like my trouble was to get the right consistency with these statues. And then I figured out that like there was a couple things I could put in the prompt that would give me these weird these statue busts with these weird like technological inserts in them, and basically I had to keep testing the prompt for like a long time to see if I could keep it consistent. And then it got to the point where I realized I can get like the best like 1 out of 4. Like 1 out of 4 generations usually are like is up to my liking. So basically I approached Midjourney and I go, listen, can you guys generate 40,000 images for me, right? So I figure a 10K project divided by 4, blah blah blah. And yeah, then they were down to help me out, and basically I employed their computing power to push out 40,000 of these. And here's the funny part: I literally took those images and I went to I went to Maui for 2 weeks on a trip, and like I wanted to go to Maui anyways, but I was like, okay, well this if we're talking vaporwave here, like palm trees and all this and that, I'm like, I'm gonna go over there and do this project. And so like literally like every day I was like going through 40,000 images and like curating them down to 11,111 by hand. So basically like every piece I have seen and looked at and judged and made the judgment call to keep it. And the reason for that was because I noticed that like there's a disconnect between humans and artificial intelligence artwork. Like there's an emotional gap like between them, and like I've had that problem because like just the pieces I've made, I've had to go through a lot of generations to just get the one that I want that's perfect, that speaks to me. And so I guess like for me it's like I'm like the middle point between like the viewer and the piece. And so yeah, it's basically like one huge like curation project, and it's kind of like a nod to like Andy Warhol in a sense with like the printmaking. He made tons of prints and he decided what prints he thought were the best ones. And so yeah, that's my approach to the project pretty much.
It's interesting. It's probably a combination of what the collection is about and your work to curate it. But something that came out to me was like most of the AI generated artwork, especially like the broader collections, it's like it's grotesque and it's off and it's kind of cool because it's AI, but it's like, well, I don't necessarily like looking at this. The vaporwave aesthetic for the statue bust, I think, is a theme that works really well with AI. It needs to be a little bit off in this regard, and I'm sure it also helps that we're only seeing the curated 20-25% that you picked out of the bunch.
Yeah, and the funny thing about it too was, as I was messing with the Midjourney thing, I remember I just told myself, I go, okay, finally the AI is doing what I want it to do. Like all my old work, it was like getting there, you know what I mean? But I just felt like soon enough, it's going to get to a place where like I'm almost like I'll be actually satisfied with the imagery that pops out. And with this stuff, like I just when I started seeing the stone textures come out and almost look realistic and just like a perfect convergence with like whatever abstract technologies like mixed inside the head, like it just I was like, this is worth putting out. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't have put it out if it wasn't up to my liking at all. Like I'm just like, okay, I'll just wait till the AI gets better. It's an even like sort of project. And so I felt it was like ready, and so yeah, I was just like excited to just push it, and also too that like we were talking about the vaporwave, the color scheme. I think it's like a nice contrast between like the stark, like stone cold textures, and like almost like the deformed faces. It's like the color scheme behind it, kind of like is a nice interplay and kind of like mutes it a little bit. It's not so morbid looking. You know what I mean? So
Hmm. Yeah, definitely. So one thing I'd like you to touch on, and you don't have to go too in depth, but how Governor X ROBNESS came to be was quite a unique set of circumstances. And we've explained from our point of view to our community what happened. This was like literally the middle of the night. But could you share a little bit into like, say, like the 48 or 24 hours leading up to launch, what that was like for you?
Yeah, I mean, I had like a developer that was helping me, and it just was like really laggy and like, I'm just being nice and not naming him. Just I don't like to just root out people and just like end their career. I'm just like, it just didn't work out, you know. But basically, it was like I had a buddy who was ready to review the code, and like we weren't getting the code until like 12 midnight, and like still he wasn't giving it to us, and I was like, there's like only like 11 hours left, and I'm like, holy shit, we got to do a freaking drop, and like this might not work. And so I'm just sitting there and like, honestly, like, Jeff, you guys saved my ass, man. I can't thank you guys enough. I'm serious. Like I every time I tell this story to people, I'm like, you guys don't even know. I was shitting bricks. I was like, I was ready to call it off. I'm like, no, I cannot put out a freaking drop that doesn't work. I don't want to have people buying NFTs that don't have the image show up. You know, and it's just like turns into a complete nightmare scenario. And on top of that, like all these scams were going on that week too. Remember, it was like the Azuki thing was going on, and then I heard about the Micah Johnson thing, and I was like, no, I do not want to get into that. So like I basically was like, okay, what do I do? You know, and I went on to Twitter. I'm like, okay, listen, this is what's happening. I'm gonna call this whole freaking thing off because I don't want people to like, have like, get scammed or not get their shit. And then luckily, like Jeff came in on a DM, and mind you, like 50 other devs like hit me up too. It was hilarious. Like almost everybody from the scene like came in to help. Like, and honestly, it was actually kind of nice to see because it's just like everybody giving a shit. It's like the whole family showed up. Like, oh, you guys are freaking sweet. But yeah, and then I was like, oh shit. And then everybody was like, well, Jeff the Dunker can do it. Jeff the Dunker can do it. I'm like, you know what, man? I've known this guy for freaking years. I'm like, let's do it. And then that was that. And we just ran. And you guys, literally, it was so funny because we started up that Telegram room, and then I brought Wagme Dev in to come in, and he Wagme was like, hey, these guys got it, man. These guys are pros. And like I literally like was helping you guys like send you the files and stuff for the website, but literally it felt like a disjointed fucking Megazord, like fucking freaking robot, and all of a sudden I just see the pieces just going, just like getting all put back together, and it was just magic, man. So you guys are pros, honestly. So and I can't thank you guys enough. And yeah, the drop was super successful. Everybody was getting their NFTs on time, and everybody was able to see what they were getting. The other guy told me that they were going to be seeing them like 24 hours after the fact. I was like, oh man, like I wanted people to get them and be able to share them as they bought them. So everything worked out perfect. So thank you guys.
Yeah, it's it's what we do. We're fixer uppers, and it was a pleasure to be able to do it with you. I know that uh, your direction behind this collection is kind of the antithesis of the or a juxtaposition against today's PFP WAGMI kind of vibe. So I'm not gonna ask you what the roadmap is for this because I know there is none, but I have seen some people from the community that's kind of sprouted up. They've done some cool stuff. I've seen some like AR bust. There's some rumors about a website and a marketplace. Could you share a little bit about what's in store if you're comfortable doing so?
Yeah, yeah, and it's funny because that was the approach I had. I wanted to actually take it like pre CryptoPunks. Like I wanted it to like yeah, no rarity traits, no promises, no roadmap, no utility, no nothing. I'm literally and honestly, with the way these statue busts kind of like form, it's kind of hard, but still like didn't want to have any of that. And I think it would be cooler that if in the long run, like the community that collects these in the long run, like they'll like naturally just kind of find out what the rarity traits are. So they can decide amongst themselves, which is kind of really decentralized in a sense. Like most most of these projects are actually kind of centralized rarity trait deciders if you think about it. So I think it'd be cool just to have everybody else kind of decide like, oh, these are actually there's a certain amount of these and there's a certain amount of that, or the backdrops, whatever. And so yeah, that was my approach to that. And I went off track. What was the other question? My bad.
It was what's been sprouting up? What not the roadmap, but what kind of cool stuff are people building around these statues?
Yeah, yeah. So I have a woman by the name of Eleni, and she goes by Peeping Tallulah, and she's a freaking dynamo, man. She's awesome. Like, well, we've worked together on some stuff, and then she like asked me, she's like, "Oh, do you need a website made?" I'm like, desperately, yeah. And so she's like, "Oh, I'll work on something." And I really didn't like think much, you know. I was like, "Okay, cool, you know, we'll have at least have a website running." And then she just went total ham and like made the most bitchin' looking site design, and it was like perfect, like the aesthetically perfect everything. And then she's like, okay, well, maybe I'll make a 3D bust of the main statue that you're using. And then, you know, I didn't talk to her for about 3 days after that, and then she made this amazing bust. And like, to her credit, you know, she had to compensate for the behind of, you know, the behind of the statue because you can't see it, obviously. So she just, you know, out of her own genius mind, she figured out the back end of it, and basically now we have like this kind of like, yeah, AR statue, and she's doing the AR stuff. So we have all this stuff like down the pike. But like for me, I'm like, I'm not making any promises. Like, we're just making stuff, which is cool. And so we want to build a marketplace, and we want to do like AR stuff, and we're basically just going to put it all together. But it's coming along like almost effortlessly, which is great. Like, and I think I'm going to be testing the site on Sunday. So yeah, I just want to make a website that's like kind of like the CryptoPunks market where you got to go over there to handle stuff. So I kind of want to have something that's more like in-house to like properly house these statues and stuff, and like maybe like have profiles for the collectors and stuff, and like have your own page for your statue and stuff like that. So just something where they can go to the site and kind of just enjoy themselves, like with that, and maybe possibly some other things going on. So, and we got a vaporwave radio station going to be installed in there too, which is cool. So we got some cool vaporwave music going on and all that. And so yeah, so it's going to be fun to make.
It reminds me a lot of like the early Rare Pepe ethos, where it was just a bunch of people who they like the art unironically. They, you know, they're just hanging out, they're building stuff together, not really any guarantees, expectations. Of course, this was like late 2016, early 2017. This was before like the bull market really popped off. So people were just in it vibing, and I that was a really special time for me. I know for me personally that was like my first proper like shitcoin community, for lack of a better words. And I think having such a good community around me with Rare Pepes played a big role in you know my continued growth. um, but yeah, I want to ask about some of the a couple of the big things I attribute to Robness. First of all, I think this chat has to talk about trash art, which is kind of an anomaly. I think, or an enigma rather. I think people are starting to, or over you know the past couple of years, it's been of this like really interesting like niche within crypto art. Could you tell us a bit about like how trash art came to be and like kind of how it's grown?
Yeah, long story short about like my tenure in Super Rare, like when I was in there, I was making a bunch of work, and you know, basically just doing kind of everything wrong, making too much work. I had to like cite my sources for my visual samples if I was doing collage work. Just a bunch of stuff was going on, but like just shooting straight to the trash can. Like my final piece that was made on there was like this glitched out trash can, like it's called the 64-gallon toter, and I was removed, and then that piece was removed. But before all that, there was like contention in the space about copyright, and about what types of artwork should be allowed in Super Rare. And like at the time, like some of my methods for making certain types of artwork were being like criticized and actually called trash. So that's where the trash can came out to be. So really, it was like all of that Twitter like debate and like insults and stuff getting tossed around. And then I just made it actually literal. I was like, if you guys really want to see trash art, like here it is. And so basically I got removed, and then that piece was removed. And it was because Super Rare at the time, they thought I took like a trash can from a Home Depot website. So after all that, You know, like I went to Rarible. Another artist, Max Osiris, was also there, and we started making work there because we both were kicked off. And Max was actually one of the first ones to get kicked off, and I was making artwork in relation to that as well, like making commentary about that stuff. And so we had to move to Rarible, and Rarible was nothing at the time. Like Rarible was just starting. They were asking other artists to mint. It was a ghost town over there. We go over there and we just start, you know, making a ton of artwork. We met a bunch of new artists that were there that weren't admitted into Super Rare at the time, because Super Rare was trying to be very curatorial, you know, not as much now. Like they were trying to keep everything, you know, very like, you know, just not smaller, but you know, like just slower in their curation picks for artists. And so we basically were just at Rarible and just we started selling pieces again because I thought it was over. I thought we were like, man, we just got out of the big house, man. We're like, what are we gonna do? Are we gonna be able to sell our work ever again? Or the you know, because the collectors were afraid to buy work beyond super rare. Like they were afraid to make the jump anywhere else because they just thought that possibly it would be worthless or something. So, but when we were making pieces in Rarible, we were able to have some collectors jump over, and to their credit, they made the jump, which is cool. You know, they basically said, no, we want to buy this artist's artwork no matter where they go, which I thought was great. And during that time, there was an article that was written about the trash can, and then when that article was written, it was Cointelegraph. Other artists started making like trash can derivative artwork. So I would see like these toters get remixed and stuff. And really, it was just like artists that were like kind of agreeing with me and like kind of in solidarity about like, you know, like what is like crypto art? Like what kind of space are we in? Are we going back to the old, like, you know, like the old art world and the gatekeeping and this and that? And so for about 2 years, there was this like constant growth of like trash can remix artwork and like photomosh.com like aesthetic artwork. And then like I think the final straw was like I sold a pretty, you know, high selling piece to like Vincent Van Gogh. And it's called Brute Trash Can, but it's like totally obscured. But that piece and the 64-gallon toter were like displayed on like ArtNet. I guess ArtNet was doing something on their Twitter page, and like all of a sudden, like I see like my trash can there as like one of the most significant pieces or something. I was like tripping out, and that was like huge for me. I was like, oh, that's freaking sweet. That was awesome, you know. And I guess like I don't know if it was a couple months or it was right before last year's December. Um, all of a sudden, like I'm checking my super rare account, like I can go on there still and like and you know handle like bids and stuff, but like I couldn't mint, right? And all of a sudden my trash can was back on my portfolio, and I thought the site broke. You know, I was like, oh shit, like F5 refresh, like this is not happening. And yeah, they reinstated the piece. So basically, it was about 2 years of like an ideological debate about like what is and what isn't art in the space. And then basically like super rare, you know, they admitted their fault. It was pretty cool. Like Zach from Super Rare said that I think like he said in a tweet it was like one of their biggest misses. And to their credit, I mean, a lot of people were they were learning in this space too. Like a lot of the artists were learning, the platforms were learning. So I almost feel like a lot of this stuff had to be fleshed out, you know. So yeah, that's a small kind of history of the trash art. But like if you like type like hashtag trash art and like search it on Twitter and just go down the feed, like you'll see like all these people doing remix artwork and stuff and like toter homages and stuff like that. It's crazy. And yeah, it pretty much turned into a meme. So yeah, it's crazy times.
Yeah, I think what you said is absolutely right, that a lot of this stuff had to happen. And I think a lot of this stuff was the precedent to some of the ongoing conversations today. Uh, Really quickly, what is your kind of view on like CC0 and like just how the space is talking about copyright in general?
Yeah, I mean, everybody knows me as being pretty radical. I'm literally like I'm literally holding the Satoshi white paper, and I'm like, all my artwork is open domain. Like anybody can rip it, do whatever they want with it. And the reason for that is it's a little bit easier to do it on the blockchain now because there's a stronger proof of record. Saying that in the old art world, it's like yeah, it's easy for everybody to like steal your artwork and like say I created it first and blah 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 blah. But now like um, we have like really good checks and balances of that, you know, and we have such a good record now on the blockchain that, like, let's say if there was two artists that made two pieces, like let the debate begin, but like but at least we have that form of record. And so after that, like, then the humans can decide what was made first, so but yeah, like I consider the blockchain so strong, and it's like being able to prove stuff, that, like, when I make a piece, it's like very easy to say, look, I made it first, like, here it is, maybe in the long run there might be more contention or more, like, ways to obscure that, but for now, like, I trust in the blockchain, I trust, like, my minting, and I'm cool with people just taking my artwork and remixing it, or there's been a couple copy mints on Tezos, actually. Like, before I jumped onto Tezos to make some pieces, like, I had some people like DM me, and they're like, "Oh, by the way, someone took some of your work and they're copy minting it," and they're like, "What do you want to do about it?" And I'm like, "Well, did they sell any?" And then they're like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Well, good for them." like, like, I'm just kind of over the copyright thing, and primarily because I guess it's a part of me, is like kind of growing with the blockchain itself, like seeing the rise of Bitcoin, and how, like, how open source ideas flourish, and like that, like, we wouldn't have Ethereum if it was closed source. We wouldn't have every other blockchain if it was closed source. So yeah, it's a little bit difficult if you're like a human being too. Like, my name is ROBNESS and I have an identity, and people can steal this and steal that. But I guess it's more like an experiment with myself to see how far I can take it. Um, because it's a lot easier for Satoshi to do it because he's like anonymous, right? He just walks away, you know. Me, like, I have a persona, right? And so, like, for me, like, my constant, like, grappling with it is like, how far can I take this, and how far can I deal with this? And so for right now, I'm doing good. But yeah, I'm like total open domain. If anybody wants to remix my stuff, you're more than welcome to. You don't even have to ask, honestly. So
Awesome. Okay, I am conscientious of time. I know we've been on for a half hour, so I have one more event that I want to ask about, and you probably know what it is. You burned CryptoPunk, what was it, 2-3 something? Two,
yeah,
three,
2317.
yeah.
the,
And
the rarest crypto punk. No, I'm just kidding.
and you didn't do that like years and years ago. You did it like last year. You like I remember you paid a considerable amount of ETH to buy the punk and burn it. And just let's hear about that.
Yeah, so that specific day, for some reason, I just felt like calling it Trash Day for everybody. Like, it was more like I just wanted to express my thanks to, like, everybody that ever made like a trash can derivative, or just that was like in support of, like the problems I was having and stuff, and just, artistically and so forth. And I don't know, like, I guess my inner Burning Man, like, my inner Burning Man past, like, kind of got involved in, like, you need to do something for these people, it's just entertain them on Twitter. And I was just kind of thinking of stuff, and mind you, I already burned Bored Ape, and I burned a Meebit. Actually, I burned a Meebit first because I was just so kind of like, I was kind of just upset how, like, that was such a cash grab, and like, I don't know. I mean, it's just like, that was my first taste of, like, burning something from Larva Labs, and it, like, some people were like, "Oh shit, like, you just burnt that?" Like, I'm like, yeah, just wanted to, just didn't care, And then the Bored Ape was like the second taste, and I burned that because there was another artist. His name is Taylor. What the fuck? And he was having issues with, like, he burned his ape and he was making derivative artwork, and then he got sent a DMCA takedown from Yuga Labs. So I wasn't down with that. And so I was like, you know what, man, I'm gonna show some solidarity here, and I bought one of, I think, Pranksy's apes or something, and then I just burnt it, and that was the second one. And so it was almost like leading up to it, and then by that time I was like, you know what, it's time to burn a CryptoPunk, make it a trifecta. And so basically, like, I grabbed, I acquired it, I set up my phone. I figured I might as well record it, and just kind of made a little event out of it. And then I put the video up of me just burning it. And then all of a sudden, like, just got retweeted like wildfire, and just people just couldn't believe it. But it's kind of funny because, like, after the fact, like, the the reactions I got for destroying it were like just were hilarious almost. Like some like it was like either they absolutely hated it or they absolutely loved it. They're like, yeah, burn that motherfucker, you know. And the other ones were like, how the hell? You must be freaking broke now, burning one of these punks. Burn! Like I remember Beanie Max, he was all pissed about it. Like, and like he's like, yeah, he might Robin's must be broke now because he burned a punk, you know. And all these like various reactions, and I'm like, man, this is man, this must have struck a chord. But it's kind of funny because now, whenever they talk about CryptoPunks and someone says 10,000 of them, there's always somebody that corrects and say there's 9,999 of them. Um, and I definitely had an idea of doing like performance art with it. Like I definitely like I wanted to express that for sure. And on top of that, like I made a I made an actual art piece of the punk burning. Like I wanted to make an actual visual piece just to be like, you know, this is what it looks like when it's going through the incinerator. And then I minted that on Tezos, and then I was selling editions of that while the punk was burnt. So there were people on Tezos like collecting that piece, which was hilarious. And then, but yeah, no, it was definitely a funny event, and people still talk about it, which is crazy, you know. So
Yeah, I remember I think my reaction was like, okay, this is absurd. Like, I understand what he's doing, but like, man, like that's a lot of ETH to just just to throw up in smokes. But I think the further away we get from that time, the more it's like it's an important piece of NFT history, and I think it's I'm sure it's prompted a lot of conversations, and it's one of several big feats that have gotten people to think more critically about what it means to own these JPEGs and use them and all that good stuff.
yeah, and I mean, I really never like explained my reasoning as to like burning it, like why I wanted to. I kind of want to just leave it up to the public to just to decide. You know, I think it might be more fun that way. But you know, I think, I mean, if I can put a little hint out, I think, you know, that price point is part of it. You know, I mean, I wanted to make a statement about what was regarded as like, you know, like what people are vying to or clamoring for in the space, and like, how important really is it, and all these questions and stuff, and just kind of challenging that as well. So, yeah, it's kind of funny, and the funny thing is, like, the bigger the CryptoPunks get, it's kind of weird. Like this whole burning thing, I keep joking that I left a burn mark on the culture. It's almost like tagging in the crypto space. It's like when you burn something, you're kind of just leaving a mark on it, and so that was kind of interesting. I basically, after it was done, like I had my own reasonings, but kind of seeing what played out and like how everybody kind of perceived it, like I saw different takes and stuff, which was kind of interesting too. So
Yeah, definitely. Okay, I'm conscientious of time. We can wrap this up soon. Before I let you go, I'm curious to hear what excites you right now in the crypto space and artwork or otherwise. What do you see on the horizon that you're interested about?
I'm actually excited about this, like, and it sounds crazy, this bear market that's going on, because um, this is the time where you really got to work now. You know, it's like the party, like everybody's on a hangover right now, like, and like now it's like time to really get down to business. And so, and for me, and you, Jeff, you know, like, hey, bear markets, man, it's like it's tough to swim through them, you know. And so now it's like really time for like artists to like cultivate and to see like. Yeah, it's going to be a good test for everybody, and I'm actually excited about that. And I'm also excited about, since it's now like we're going to be focusing more on building again. Perhaps now the NFT music scene might be able to pop out. Like I'm still waiting for that to kind of come to fruition, and see that kind of start flourishing. So, yeah, I'm actually excited about this time right now. This is like a lot of us are like, yeah, like get back to work. Let's do this. Like, you know, it's a good, you know, we had a good sense of euphoria, but now it's like time to get real. So
Yeah, I've been telling people that as well. Like last bull market, like so many people I know, you and all kinds of other people, Like they got their hands deep and they learn about the space and they build stuff, and then the bull market came around and they were greatly rewarded for it. So I've been telling people, if you actually care about this space, if you're super interested in it, like, now's the time that matters. The bull market's not what matters. Situate yourself now. If that's not you, that's okay. Feel free to be a tourist and come back in a couple of years. But if you don't have the money, now is the most important time because you have your own time to invest.
And also too, I mean, it's like if I could just impart some advice to like the artists like here in the space is like, um, I mean, I collect as well, but I'm not as like cutthroat as some of these other collectors are. But um, collectors are looking for artists that will stick in the space and actually they act. It's kind of interesting. Like the collectors actually do have um, like a care about those who actually care about the crypto art space. Like they are looking for those who are going to like stand the test of time, and considering the size of this space and how big it's grown, they're like really looking now. So if I could just import that because it can get frustrating, but I will say that it's like if you enjoy being on the blockchain and minting on the blockchain, like that's my number one is like I love doing that. And that's what keeps me going. So, yeah, I say just don't get too stressed out what's going on right now. Just enjoy the process and enjoy making history on the blockchain and enjoy making notches on that thing. Because you know what I mean. It's like that's half my fun is like oh, I made a piece today, but it's notched at this exact point in time forever. So yeah.
Awesome, I love it. All right, well, Robness, I'm ready to let you go. I really appreciate your time. Do you have any last words, any closing remarks you'd like to add beyond that?
I'm just gonna say this crypto art ship it's still roaring, and we're gonna cut through the fabric of space time, and let's send this renaissance out there. Let's do it.
Absolutely. That's a great note to end on. Everyone, thanks for tuning in. We are Governor DAO. We're working with Robness on that collection in the pin tweet. If you'd like to mint, go for it. You're in great company if you do. For the people that are listening in that aren't familiar, our project is a service DAO helping other people do stuff on the blockchain and do it right and do it better. So if that's something that interests you, please check us out. The main account is hosting, so feel free to give it a follow. And I hope everyone has a great rest of their evening or day or wherever it is in the world for you.